My son died 3 years ago. His name was Michael. He was 7 years old. And for 3 years, I've lived with this crushing weight. This question that wakes me up at 3 in the morning, drenched in sweat, my heart racing. Where is he? Can he see me? Does he know how much I still love him? I'm Dr. Sarah Chen. I'm a pediatric oncologist. I've spent my career fighting death. I've sat with hundreds of families in those sterile hospital rooms, watching the monitors flatline, watching parents crumple like paper dolls when I tell them there's nothing more we can do. I thought I understood grief. I thought I understood loss. I was wrong. Because when it's your child, when it's your baby who's gone, everything you think you know about death shatters like glass. Every medical textbook, every scientific explanation, every spiritual platitude people offer you becomes meaningless noise. You're left with this raw, bleeding wound and a question that echoes in the emptiness. Where is my child now? Let me tell you something that's going to sound impossible, something that goes against everything I learned in medical school, everything my rational, scientific mind wants to reject. But I can't reject it, because I experienced it. Jesus himself showed me where my son is. He showed me how Michael is watching me right now. And he showed me something else, something that will change everything you think you know about death, about heaven, about the people you've lost. But I need to start at the beginning. I need to tell you about the day Michael died. It was a Saturday morning, bright sunshine. One of those perfect spring days when everything feels possible, when the world seems gentle and safe. Michael was riding his bike in our driveway, just our driveway, 10 feet from our front door. I was inside, making pancakes, listening to him laugh as he practiced his turns. That sound, his laughter, it was the soundtrack of my life, pure joy, unself-conscious, the way children laugh before the world teaches them to be afraid. And then silence. That terrible, absolute silence that makes every parent's blood run cold. I dropped the spatula. I ran outside. And there he was, lying on the concrete. His bike twisted beside him. A car, a neighbor's car, backing out without looking. Michael had swerved to avoid it, lost control, hit the edge of the driveway at exactly the wrong angle. Head injury, massive intracranial hemorrhage. I'm a doctor. I knew what those words meant even before the paramedics said them. I knew what the dilated pupils meant, what the irregular breathing meant, what the falling blood pressure meant. He died in my arms in the ambulance. 7 minutes from our house to the hospital. 7 minutes that felt like 7 seconds and 7 years all at once. His last breath was so soft, I almost didn't feel it against my cheek. And then he was gone. They tell you that grief comes in stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. They make it sound linear, like following a recipe. But grief isn't linear. Grief is drowning in an ocean where the waves never stop coming. Some days you can tread water, some days you just sink. For 3 years I sank. I kept working. I kept seeing my patients, kept fighting for other people's children while my own was cold in the ground. I smiled when I was supposed to smile. I nodded when people said he was in a better place, that he was watching over me, that time would heal. But inside, I was screaming, because none of those words meant anything. Better place? What place? Where is he? How is he? Can he see me crying myself to sleep every night? Does he know I would trade everything, my career, my life, my last breath, just to hold him one more time? I stopped going to church, stopped praying. How could I pray to a God who let my 7-year-old die in a driveway? What kind of divine plan includes a child's skull cracking open on concrete while his mother makes pancakes? But the questions never stopped. They haunted me, consumed me. Where is Michael? Is he scared? Is he alone? Does he remember me? And then, 6 months ago, something happened. I was in my office at the hospital. Late night. I'd volunteered for the overnight shift because being at home in that empty house was unbearable. I was reviewing patient files when suddenly I felt this pressure in my chest. Not pain, exactly, more like a weight, like someone was pressing down on my sternum with both hands. I stood up, thinking maybe I was having a heart attack. Cardiac arrest, wouldn't that be ironic? The doctor who couldn't save her son, dying alone in a hospital office. But it wasn't a heart attack. The pressure intensified, and suddenly I couldn't breathe. Not gasping, not choking, I simply stopped breathing. My lungs wouldn't work. I should have been terrified. But I wasn't. Instead, I felt this overwhelming sense of peace, warmth, like being wrapped in the softest blanket imaginable. The office around me started to blur, the edges getting fuzzy like a photograph going out of focus. And then I was falling, not down forward, through something, into something. The sensation was impossible to describe, like being pulled through water, but the water was made of light, like dissolving and reassembling simultaneously. Every cell in my body vibrating at a frequency I'd never felt before. And the light was unlike anything that exists on Earth. It wasn't white. It wasn't gold. It was every color and no color. It was alive, conscious, welcoming. I stopped falling. Or maybe I started floating. The distinction didn't seem to matter. I was suspended in this ocean of light, and I wasn't afraid. For the first time since Michael died, I wasn't afraid of anything. My body was gone. Not dead, just gone. I could still sense myself, still know that I was me, but there was no weight, no physical form, no boundaries between me and the infinite space around me. It was the most natural thing in the world, like I'd been wearing a coat my entire life and finally taken it off. And the love. God. The love in that place. It wasn't an emotion. It was the fundamental substance of reality. It poured through me, over me, around me, unconditional, absolute. The kind of love that makes you realize you've never really been loved before, not like this. Not even by your own parents, not even the love you felt for your child. This was the source, the original, the thing all other love is just a shadow of. I heard music, but not with ears. Felt it, maybe. Harmonies that seemed to be the sound of existence itself, the vibration that holds atoms together, that makes stars burn and hearts beat. And woven through the music was something else. Presences. Beings. I couldn't see them clearly, but I knew they were there. Countless souls, moving through the light like fish through water, each one distinct, each one radiant with that same impossible love. And then he appeared. I didn't see him walk toward me. He was simply there, standing before me, if standing is even the right word. Jesus. I knew it was him with the same certainty. I knew my own name. Not because he looked like the paintings in churches. He didn't have a beard or robes or a halo. He was just light-shaped into human form, but the light was intelligent, compassionate, ancient beyond measure, and young as a newborn child all at once. His presence was overwhelming. Not frightening, overwhelming the way the ocean is overwhelming when you stand on the shore and realize how small you are, how vast it is. I wanted to fall down, to prostrate myself, but there was no down in that place. So I just existed before him, completely exposed, every thought I'd ever had, every secret shame, every moment of cruelty and kindness laid bare. And he looked at me, into me, and there was no judgment, only love. He didn't speak with words. The communication was direct, soul to soul, faster than language, deeper than words could ever reach. But if I had to translate it into English, this is what he said to me. Sarah, beloved daughter, why are you in such pain? And I answered, not with my mouth, but with my whole being, the question that had been tearing me apart for 3 years. Where is my son? Where is Michael? Is he okay? Can he see me? Does he know I love him? Jesus smiled, not with a face. He didn't have a face. Not really, but I felt his smile the way you feel sunshine on your skin. And he said, come, I will show you. He reached out, and even though he had no hand, I felt his touch. It was like fire and ice and electricity and honey all at once. And suddenly the light around us changed, shifted, became something else. The formless ocean of light crystallized into shapes, structures, landscapes that were nothing like Earth, but somehow deeply familiar. I saw gardens that bloomed with flowers made of sound, rivers that flowed upward, defying gravity, singing as they moved, mountains that breathed, their slopes rising and falling like lungs. The sky, if it was a sky, was filled with colors that don't have names. Hues that human eyes can't perceive, but that my consciousness could understand perfectly. And everywhere, there were souls, people, radiant beings moving through this impossible paradise, each one glowing with their own inner light. Some were alone, sitting by those singing rivers, lost in meditation or prayer. Others were in groups, embracing, laughing, dancing to the music of existence. Children ran through the gardens, their laughter like crystal bells. Elderly souls rested under trees that whispered secrets. Everyone was home. Everyone was exactly where they belonged. Jesus guided me forward, or inward, or upward. The directions in that place didn't make sense. And as we moved, I began to understand something. This place, this heaven or afterlife or whatever name you want to give it, wasn't somewhere else. It was here, now, layered on top of the physical world like a transparency laid over a painting. The two realms existed simultaneously, occupying the same space, but vibrating at different frequencies. That's why we can't see it from Earth. We're tuned to the wrong channel. And then Jesus stopped. We were standing in a clearing filled with light so bright it should have blinded me, but didn't. And he said, "Do you remember what you asked me?" "Where is Michael?" I whispered. "Where is my son?" "He is closer than you think," Jesus said. And then he showed me something that broke me and healed me all at once. In that moment with Jesus, I saw my son, not as a memory, not as a photograph. I saw him, truly saw him, existing in a dimension of light that defied every scientific principle I'd ever learned. The air around me became thick with presence, as if reality itself had shifted into a higher octave. I could feel the warmth of divine love radiating from Jesus like waves of pure energy. And within that light, there he was. My Michael, my beautiful boy. His face was luminous, more alive than any living person I'd ever seen. His eyes, those same brown eyes that used to look up at me with complete trust, were filled with something I can only describe as knowing. He wasn't distant. He wasn't gone. He was right there, watching me with a tenderness that made my knees buckle. And then Jesus spoke, not with sound, but with a communication that bypassed language entirely. It was understanding poured directly into my consciousness, truth downloaded into the core of my being. "He has never left you, Sarah." I gasped, tears streaming down my face. "But he's dead. He's been dead for 3 years. Jesus' presence expanded, enveloping me in unconditional love. Death is a doorway, not a wall. Your son exists in the dimension of divine love, and from there, he watches you. He knows you. He participates in your life through the love that connects all souls to their Creator. I tried to process this with my scientific mind, but science had no framework for what I was experiencing. How? How does he watch me? And then Jesus showed me. The vision shifted, and I saw myself through my son's eyes, or rather, through the lens of divine awareness. I saw myself in the pediatric oncology ward, holding the hand of a dying child. I saw the moment when I whispered prayers over that little girl, not knowing if anyone heard me. And I saw my son's presence there, invisible but real, like a guardian woven into the fabric of that moment. Every time you love, Jesus explained, you create a bridge between the earthly and the eternal. Your son exists in the realm of divine love, and wherever love manifests, he can be present. When you heal a child, He's there. When you cry in the shower at night, He's there. When you laugh at a memory of Him, He's there. Divine love is the medium through which souls remain connected. I watched scene after scene from my life over the past 3 years, mundane moments I'd forgotten, painful moments I'd tried to forget. And in every single one, there was a subtle presence, a warmth I'd attributed to imagination or wishful thinking. But it wasn't imagination. It was Him. He knows everything, I whispered. He knows everything that matters, Jesus said. He sees through the eyes of love. He doesn't judge you for your anger or your doubt. He celebrates every moment you choose compassion. He grieves when you suffer. He rejoices when you find peace. Your connection to Him has never been severed, only your awareness of it was clouded by grief and the false belief that death creates separation. The theological implications of this hit me like a tidal wave. Everything I'd been taught about heaven being far away, about the dead being in some distant place waiting for Judgment Day, it was incomplete. Worse than incomplete. It was a barrier between people and the truth of divine love's omnipresence. But the Church teaches, I began. The Church teaches many things, Jesus interrupted gently. Some bring people closer to divine truth. Others create walls where I built bridges. I never said the dead are far from you. I said, I am with you always. Do you think a parent's love ends when they pass through the doorway of death? Do you think divine love, which is infinitely greater than human love, would allow such separation? I felt something crack open inside my chest, a dam of grief that had been holding back an ocean. For 3 years, I'd been living as if my son was irretrievably gone. I'd been talking to a gravestone, praying into the void, torturing myself with the belief that he couldn't hear me, couldn't see me, couldn't know how much I missed him. But he knew. He'd always known. Why didn't anyone tell me this? I sobbed. Why did I have to suffer this way? Because humanity has forgotten how to perceive divine love, Jesus said, and there was infinite sadness in His presence. You've turned spirituality into rules and rituals. You've made God into a distant judge instead of an intimate connector. You've taught yourselves that heaven is far away when it's as close as your next breath, as near as the love in your heart. The vision shifted again, and I saw my son not just watching me, but participating in my life in ways I'd never imagined. I saw him in the faces of the children I healed, not reincarnated, but present through the medium of divine love. I saw him in the gentle nudges of intuition that had guided my hands during difficult procedures. I saw him in the inexplicable peace that sometimes descended on me in the middle of my worst grief. He hadn't been absent. I'd been blind. Sarah, Jesus said, and His voice was filled with such tenderness that I felt my entire being melt. Your son is not separated from you by death. He's separated from you only by your limited perception. But now you know. Now you see. You are not alone. You were never alone. And neither is anyone else who has lost someone they love. In that moment, everything changed. The crushing weight of grief that I'd carried for 3 years didn't disappear, but it transformed. It became something different, something lighter, because I wasn't grieving someone who was gone. I was learning to recognize someone who was still present, just in a form my eyes couldn't see, but my heart could feel. I thought about all the patients I'd lost over the years, all the parents I'd counseled, telling them hollow platitudes about heaven and being in a better place. I'd been offering them crumbs when Jesus was trying to give them a feast. Their children weren't far away. They were watching through divine love. They were present in every act of kindness, every moment of healing, every tear shed in their memory. This applies to everyone, doesn't it? I asked, already knowing the answer. Every soul that passes through death remains connected to the souls they loved through divine love, Jesus confirmed. The veil between worlds is thinner than a thought, closer than a heartbeat. But people have been taught to build walls where I built windows. They've been taught to mourn as if death is the end, when it's only a transition into a different form of existence. I felt a surge of something I hadn't felt in years, not just hope, but certainty. The kind of certainty that comes not from belief, but from direct experience. "What about awareness?" I asked. "Does my son know what I'm thinking? Does he understand why I was so angry at God?" Jesus' presence radiated warmth. He sees you through the lens of divine love, which means he sees with perfect compassion and zero judgment. He knows your heart, he knows your pain, and he's never stopped loving you, Sarah. Not for a single moment. How could he? Love is eternal, and divine love is the foundation of all existence. To stop loving would be to stop existing. I remembered the night I screamed at God in my car, pounding the steering wheel until my hands bruised, cursing the universe for taking my son. I'd felt so alone in that moment, so abandoned by any benevolent force. But he'd been there, watching, loving, unable to communicate through my wall of grief, but present nonetheless. "He forgives me?" I whispered. "There's nothing to forgive," Jesus said softly. "You were in pain, and pain is part of the human experience. Your son understands that better than anyone. He doesn't need your perfection, Sarah. He never did. He just needs you to know that the love between you never died, never diminished, never disappeared. It only changed form." The vision began to fade, and I felt panic rise in my chest. "Wait, don't go. You need to live with this truth," Jesus said. "You need to recognize your son's presence in the moments of love that fill your days. You need to teach others what you've learned, because millions of people are suffering under the false belief that death creates permanent separation. They're in agony, thinking their loved ones are far away, when they're as close as the love in their hearts." And then he was gone. The chapel was silent again, ordinary light filtering through the stained glass. But I was not the same person who had walked in. If you've lost someone you love, listen to me. Everything I'm telling you is true, not because I believe it, but because I've experienced it. Your loved ones are not far away. They're not locked behind pearly gates waiting for some distant reunion. They exist in the dimension of divine love, and they're aware of you in ways that transcend physical presence. When you feel a sudden warmth while thinking of them, that's not imagination. When you experience an inexplicable peace during your darkest grief, that's not coincidence. When you sense their presence in moments of love and beauty, you're not making it up. You're perceiving the truth that death doesn't separate love. It purifies it, intensifies it, makes it eternal. Jesus doesn't create separation. Our beliefs do. Our limited understanding of divine love does. Our insistence that heaven must be far away does. But the truth is simpler and more beautiful than anything religion has taught us. Divine love is the fabric of reality, and souls connected by love remain connected forever. Death be damned. Your dead son is watching you. Your departed mother knows your struggles. Your lost friend celebrates your victories, not because they're ghosts haunting you, but because they exist in divine love. And divine love connects all things across all dimensions of existence. This is what Jesus showed me. This is the truth that transformed my grief from a crushing weight into a bridge between worlds. This is the message he asked me to share. You are not alone. You were never alone. The ones you love are watching you through divine love, participating in your life in ways your eyes can't see, but your heart can feel. Open yourself to this truth. Ask Jesus to reveal it to you directly as he revealed it to me. Because love never dies, love never separates, love never ends. And if that's true, and I promise you it is, then neither does the connection between your soul and the souls of everyone you've ever loved. This is what Jesus wanted me to know. This is what he wants you to know too. If this truth resonates somewhere deep in your chest, you're not alone. Millions of people are waking up to this reality, recognizing that divine love doesn't play by the rules we've been taught. It transcends death. It obliterates separation. It makes all things past, present, living, and dead connected through the infinite tenderness of the divine. Your loved ones are watching. They're loving you, they're present, and they're waiting for you to recognize what they've known all along. That love is the only thing death can't touch.